They're a pretty friendly bunch. We'll have the koalas waiting for you at the airport.
Be careful of the koalas. They're cute and cuddly, but they may pee on you. So what's that?
Well, we thank you for making us feel so welcome here. There's one commitment we will make to you. Your president has committed to you, and you have enabled your president to have the opportunity to make America great again. I heard Nigel Farage say yesterday that he is going to make Britain great again. We will commit to you that we will do everything possible to make Australia great again. Thank you. There you go.
From CPAC Korea, former ambassador at large for global criminal justice, Morris Tan.
Good morning, CPAC. It was my honor to serve in President Donald J. Trump's first term as his ambassador at large for global criminal justice. And I want to hearken back to a little bit of history here. In 1950, the Joseph Stalin installed government of North Korea invaded South Korea to seek to overrun it. And in that conflict, a US-led coalition of 20-some countries repelled the communist aggression at the price of 50,000 American casualties. I honor the blood that was spilled by American soldiers to keep the whole peninsula from being one big North Korea, which is the most oppressive, darkest, most unjust place on planet Earth. And believe me, I know of many such places around the world, and it is number one in that regard. Now, South Korea stands on the edge of a cliff. The democracy in South Korea is in a danger that has not been in for decades. President Yoon, who loves America, who was strongly and staunchly allied with the United States of America, has been impeached and is in danger of being prematurely removed from office. Why? Because he had the courage to stick out his neck and say that there are things that are amiss in South Korea because there have been many indications of election fraud. We know something about that, I think, here in the United States. And there is a parallel situation going on. President Yoon, indeed, has been called the Donald Trump of Asia. And he declared martial law in order to try to seize evidence in regards to the election cheating that he believes has run rampant and has given the Liberal Democratic Party in South Korea an overwhelming supermajority in South Korea that they have used in legislative tyranny to overrun the country, to give a haven to North Korean spies, to welcome the influence of the Chinese Communist Party. And they are rushing through a conviction process potentially before the Constitutional Court that if 6 justices on that court vote to remove him from office, he will be prematurely removed from office even though he was the duly elected president of Korea by the people of South Korea. They are rushing this through because his chief political rival who wants to supplant him as president, Lee Jae-myung, who has allegedly sent millions of dollars over to North Korea against US sanctions and against the UN Security Council sanctions, who has aligned himself with North Korea and with the Chinese Communist Party, is himself accused of various crimes that if he is convicted, he would be disqualified from being a candidate for president of South Korea. So there is a legal and political race going on to try to convict and remove President Yoon before Lee Jae-myung is disqualified for running for president of Korea in the emergency election that will ensue if Yoon is removed. This is an issue for which freedom-loving, democracy-loving Americans should not be neutral. This is a situation where our government and our people should stand with our allies in South Korea and with President Yoon and stand up and be counted and let the world know that the robbing of democracy and the destruction of democracy, that we spilled blood to the tune of 50,000 casualties in the Korean War, will not be in vain, but that the democracy in South Korea could flourish and the people's elected president, President Yoon, who loves America, who's closely aligned with America, would be able to be vindicated in the Constitutional Court and restored to his rightful office. Thank you.
Donald John Trump, do solemnly swear.
President Trump is back in the White House.
Donald Trump has won the presidency.
Trump is back in the White House.
Donald Trump has taken back America.
I actually started quite a while ago in CPAC, and I enjoyed it so much that I came back for a second one, then a third, then I said, what the hell, let's run for president. Matt said, it's like 5 years ago, 6 years ago. He says, you should run for politics. He's the one, he said, you should run for the presidency of the United States.
It is my honor to introduce to CPAC 2017 our president, Donald Trump.
First of all, I want to thank Matt Schlapp and his very, very incredible wife and boss, Mercedes, who have been fantastic friends and supporters, and so great when I watch them on television defending me. Nobody has a chance. I love this place. Love you people. You never stop fighting for America, and I will never, ever stop fighting for you. We know that there are still more records to be shattered, new summits to be scaled, more triumphs to be realized, and more amazing history just waiting to be written. The American adventure has only just begun. God bless America, and we will see you next year. Thank you very much. You never stop fighting for America, and I will never, ever stop fighting for you.
Hey, it's Matt Schlapp with CPAC. You know, we've had a huge problem in this country with election fraud. But at CPAC, that's not a problem. Our only problem is getting each and every one of you to vote. So look at your badge. You have a number on that badge. And get your phone out and vote on all the issues that matter. And my guess is you probably like what Trump's doing as well. And we'll have the results for you very soon. Everything they said about him has been wrong. I don't know how he does it.
It has always been a battle against Donald Trump.
Puts a very bright light on the two-tier system of justice that only seems to go after President Trump.
The reason why we want him as president is because he's not stuck in this kind of bureaucratic machination. He was very clear. If you hit your target, you are golden, and you can work and work and work and do a great job. He's a very inquisitive person who loves to talk about the economy.
Trump does the same thing in a different medium. He's talking directly to the American people.
But that's why Trump is transformational, because he kind of came outside the Republican Party.
He's a great closer. He understands what the most important issues are to voters.
Not only is America a great country, but that we Americans are good people.
Donald Trump stands for everything that's good, everything that we need, what needs to be changed in our society today.
Think about that Trump supporter that was demonized, that was taken down, that was criticized, that was targeted. Think about that person out there. That is the one. They are winning tonight. The American people, they've spoken up tonight.
We just lived through history. We're never going to see anything like this ever again.
When the bad people of Mexico meet with the bad people of the United States, what's the result? Culture of death, child trafficking, abortion, illegal guns, drugs, death. Mexico and the United States, we are not just neighbors, we're brothers and sisters. We need to work together, and let's make Mexico and America great together again.
Let's send the world a message. We condemn the police state tactics of Xi Jinping, Vladimir Putin, Lula da Silva, and Joe Biden.
I want to start by thanking Matt and Mercedes Schlapp and everyone at the American Conservative Union.
They say globalism comes to die at CPAC. I'm here to tell you that in El Salvador, it's already there.
An amazing time to be in this fight for freedom.
Eliminar la corrupción de la política, pero no nos vamos a rendir en volver a ser Argentina grande nuevamente.
Va a ser quién va a ganar y quién va a proteger a la familia. Esa es la batalla. Y ellos, al final del día, querían llegar a nuestros hijos para dividirnos. ¡Viva España! ¡Viva los Estados Unidos! ¡Viva Israel!
¡Vamos a ganar!
Before the cabinet room, you saw Donald Trump's next cabinet make waves at CPAC.
This president is calling my family, is calling me, is calling MAGA supporters enemy of America.
That's right.
I am the daughter of a Cuban political prisoner who fought for freedom, who fought against authoritarian and dictators. He sounds just like Fidel Castro did. Fidel Castro would target the enemies of his government and try to take them down. This is exactly what we're seeing with Joe Biden. He should be ashamed of himself. No American should be called a Nazi or be called an enemy of the state. Those of us who love this country, and I have spent my whole life defending freedom in America.
As I think it was President Reagan said, we're from the government. We're here to help.
I think you all know that I've always felt the 9 most terrifying words in the English language are, I'm from the government and I'm here to help.
We're from the government. We're here to help.
Being woke is easy when it was just a call to defund the police or end capitalism, right? It's a little different when your fellow ideologues start cheering for your beheading. And here's a question. This next video, does this look like London to you? The pro-Hamas protests making for a very interesting political moment at Harvard. A university recently ranked the worst school for free speech in America. What would Harvard do in a moment like this, we all wondered? A school that will expel you for using the wrong pronoun and making a pink-haired trans girl cry. Well, in this moment, Harvard just miraculously transformed into free speech absolution. Apparently at Harvard, there's nothing offensive at all, even though everything's offensive at Harvard. There's nothing offensive at all about celebrating the murder of 1,000 people, including a whole bunch of kids.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome President and founder of Movimiento Viva Mexico, Eduardo Verástegui.
Buenos días. Good morning. Good energy right here. So, dear friends, brothers and sisters in the fight for life, family, and freedom, it is an honor to stand before you today, not just as a Mexican, not just as a conservative, but as a fellow soldier in this great battle for our civilization. Today, we gather not just as citizens of our respective nations, but as one great family of patriots who understand a fundamental truth. If evil never rests, then neither can we. The good news is that common sense has won once again in the United States. President Trump has won for a 3rd time. Yes. President Trump is back. And after these 4 years, he should run again. 4 more years. 4 more years. There you go. I agree with you. We are living in a defining moment in history. This is not just another political cycle, not just another ideological struggle. What is at stake is the future of our nations, the future of our children, and the survival of Western civilization itself. A civilization built on truth, justice, and liberty. Yet today, those values are under attack like never before across many countries in our region. The enemies of freedom are advancing in Latin America. Communism, Marxism, woke ideology, narco states, and globalist elites who seek to enslave our people. So I ask you, Are we going to let them take over the rest of the world? Of course not. Are we going to sit back and watch as our nations fall to corruption, tyranny, and moral decay? Of course no. We are going to fight, and that's why I'm going to join the Elon Musk and President Trump's movement. My heart goes out to all of you. Fight, fight, fight. And that's why the work that CPAC is doing around the world is crucial. Because only when we fight together can we win. Thank you, Matt and Mercedes, for your leadership. And thank you for your invitation. And I'm happy to announce that CPAC Mexico will be taking place in Mexico City in September. Please follow our social media, CPAC Mexico on Instagram and X. Very soon, we will be sharing all the details of the event. I would love to see all of you there. I promise you, you will have the best time of your life. Great food, great margaritas with moderation. With moderation, it's okay. Freedom fighters, are you ready to keep fighting? Here is a call to action on 3 principles. Our fight will be grounded in 3 fundamental human rights: life, family, and freedom. The battle for life. The first battle we must fight is the battle to protect the culture of life. Because if we do not defend life, especially the lives of the most vulnerable, if we do not stand up for the most innocent, the most defenseless, then sooner or later we will destroy each other. We will kill each other. As Mother Teresa said, the greatest destroyer of peace today is abortion, because it is a war against the child, a direct killing of the innocent child, murdered by the mother herself. Today, in many parts of the world, being pro-life is seen as an act of rebellion. They call us radicals for saying something as basic as every human being has the right to be born. Can you believe that? But I ask you, who are the radicals? Who are the real radicals? Radicals are those who advocate for the killing of babies in the womb, even at 9 months of pregnancy, and in some cases, even after birth. Who are the radicals? Well, that is not just radical, that is evil. They tell us abortion is a right, when in reality, it is the greatest genocide of our time. They tell us euthanasia is an act of compassion, when in truth, real compassion is protecting every human life, because every human life matters. But we will not remain silent, because evil triumphs when good people remain silent. And when good people remain silent, they're not good people anymore, because they are part of the problem. We will continue to expose this culture of death and promote a culture of life, because a nation that kills its own children has no future. The second front of our fight is the defense of the family. The family is the foundation of society. It's the first government, the first church, and the first school. And that is why the enemies of freedom want to destroy it. They seek to impose ideologies that confuse our children, strip away their innocence, and attack marriage and motherhood. Because a country without strong families is a weak country, very easily manipulated and controlled. We will defend God's design for the family and protect the innocence of our children. Finally, we will defend freedom. We live in an era where those who speak the truth are persecuted, where censorship and political oppression have become the tools of tyrants. We have seen how they try to silence pro-life leaders, silence priests who preach God's word, silence ordinary citizens who simply want to live in peace. Freedom is a gift from God, and no government has the right to take it away from us. We will also follow the principles of freedom to grow our economies, lift our brothers and sisters out of poverty, and build a strong middle class. In Latin America, we have seen how socialism makes the majority of the population very poor. These people love poverty that they multiply it. They love so much poverty that they end up multiplying it. Socialism is a cancer. It destroys everything that it touches. Right now in Mexico, we have a socialist government. Mexico is becoming like Venezuela, Cuba, or Nicaragua. If we don't react soon, tomorrow is going to be too late. And for all these reasons, I'm here. I joined the fight for freedom many years ago when I was working in Hollywood as an actor. I made a promise to God that I will never use my talents again to do anything that will offend my faith, my family, or my Latino culture. And after I made that promise, I ended up not working for 4 years. Be careful what you promise. So I opened a production company and I became a film producer. We started with Bella, Little Boy, Sound of Freedom, Cabrini, and in December, the new one, The Massacre of the Holy Innocents. I'm not a politician. I'm an actor, a filmmaker, and a human rights activist. But I learned that in politics, there is no empty seats. There's always someone occupying those spaces, making decisions that will change the destiny of our nation. If not forever, then at least for a long time. And those decisions will affect our families for good or for bad. So after our movie Sound of Freedom was released, my eyes were open on many fronts. And I made a promise to God that I would not rest until we eradicate human trafficking, child trafficking, end abortion, and protect our Christian values. But I knew I had to start in my country. That's why in 2023, I wanted to run for president of Mexico as an independent candidate. But the system wasn't built for outsiders. The same corrupt politicians blocked me from competing in the 2024 elections. They were afraid of outsiders. In Mexico right now, there is no real opposition. There is opposition. The majority of the Mexican people do not have political representation. And the majority of Mexicans are tired of corruption, tired of lies, tired of politicians who serve the cartels instead of the people. And that's why it is so important to continue the fight for freedom. We will never stop. We will never give up. We will give our lives for this mission. It's not about us. It's about using our talents to make this world a better place. It is about glorifying God in everything that we do. It's about fighting for something bigger than yourself, bigger than ourselves. Remember this one. Man gives the battle, but only God gives the victory. Man gives the battle, but only God gives the victory. But I have hope. I have faith, and I know that very soon everything will change in Mexico. Very soon we will receive official approval from Mexico's Electoral Institute to begin building a new conservative political party. I am proud to announce that very soon Movimiento Nacional Viva Mexico will officially be underway. And Viva Mexico is not going to be just another political party. This will be the largest movement to free Mexico from socialism, communism, the radical left, woke ideology, and the corrupt globalist. Because Mexico is ready. Enough is enough. We don't want the same anymore. It's time to change. For too long, our country has been ruled by criminals in government working hand in hand with the cartels. Even President Trump recently recognized that Mexico has become a narco state. But I have a message for the corrupt leaders of Mexico. Your time is up. I know this fight will not be easy. The establishment will come after us, threaten us, but they won't stop us. Because we know this is not just a political or cultural battle. It is essentially a spiritual battle, and we are ready to fight. We are not alone. God plus one is an army, and we are more than one. We are more than one. We are the majority. If God is with us, who can be against us? Nobody. Because I believe that with courage, determination, and God's help, we will rescue our nation. We will defeat corruption. We will defend our families, our faith, and our freedom. So let me say this loud and clear. God willing, with the Viva Mexico movement, we will make Mexico free again. We will make Mexico safer again. We will make Mexico healthy again. We will make Mexico pro-life again. We will be working really hard so we can make Mexico godly again. And we will make Mexico great again. And we will do this together, because together we're stronger. We are not just neighbors, we are brothers and sisters. What happens? What happens when the good people of Mexico work with the good people of the United States? What is the result? Sound of freedom. A movement that is designed to end child trafficking in the world. Good things happen. Now, what happens when the bad people of the United States work with the bad people of Mexico? When they work together, what is the result? Fentanyl, drugs, human trafficking, child trafficking, illegal guns, terrorism. The USA is the #1 consumer of child sex in the world, the #1 consumer of drugs, the #1 consumer of child pornography. And Mexico, the #1 provider of all three. So I want to stop here for a second. We have done a lot of harm to each other. We can't move forward without first forgiving each other. I believe in the power of forgiveness. So I want to start this movement of forgiveness here in Washington, D.C., and I pray that God will heal the wounds. So on behalf of Mexico, I want to apologize for all the harm Mexico has done to the United States. And the United States needs to apologize to Mexico for all the harm they have done to Mexico. And after this breach of forgiveness, then we need to make sure that the good people of both nations work together and through bilateral efforts eradicate as much as we can all of the bad things that we have done to each other and focus on all the good things that we have done to each other. Capitalize on all the positive. Then we will be unstoppable. Together as brothers and sisters. When the United States and Mexico stand together, our nations are safer. Our border is safer. Together, we will make Mexico and the United States great again, and we will make the Americas great again. God bless Mexico, God bless America, God bless the world. ¡Viva Estados Unidos! ¡Viva México! ¡Y que viva la Virgen de Guadalupe! Thank you very much. God bless you.
Newsmax has been terrific.
President Trump is right. Millions are switching to Newsmax. It's the fastest growing streaming service in America. You don't need those woke streaming services anymore. Just get Newsmax Plus. Watch the best shows like Greg Kelly, Rob Schmidt, Greta Van Susteren, and Rob Finnerty.
Greg Kelly over at Newsmax. The Newsmax people have been really terrific.
Gain access to exclusive documentaries, series, and special briefings. It's free to start. So go to NewsmaxPlus.com now to sign up and watch Newsmax anytime, anywhere.
This lunacy will end on my first day back in the Oval Office. I promise you it will end immediately. RSBN, by the way, how good is RSBN? They do a good job. So beautiful.
Creators, it's time to take control. With Bursts, you create impactful content in seconds. Powered by blockchain, your content and earnings are protected, transparent, and yours to control. Play TV isn't just a platform. It's a community of creators building a new future together. Your freedom starts when you press play.
Still under construction, but already the biggest news station in Poland. The only international TV station that interviewed Donald J. Trump.
I'd like to say hello to the Polish people.
Poland's leftist government wants to destroy us, but we are not backing down. We're building conservative, English-speaking European news station. Join the movement. Support the revolution.
Make Europe great again. This is Republica, the home of free speech.
Hey, CPAC Patriots, make sure to go downstairs to go check out all of our incredible sponsors for CPAC 2025.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for the Parent Trap. What happens when we leave our kids to the professionals? Please welcome America First Policy Institute Chair of the Center for Education Opportunity, Erica Donalds. Congressional Commission for the Social Status of Black Men and Boys, Jack Brewer. And your moderator, Senior Vice President of Communications, Alliance Defending Freedom, Billy Adwell.
Well, I want to start by thanking Matt and Mercy Schlapp for making this panel possible, and I'm so grateful for you two for giving up your time. Again, my name is Billy Atwell. I'm the Senior Vice President of Communications at Alliance Defending Freedom. ADF exists to advance every person's God-given right to live and speak the truth, and we contend for truth in law, policy, and the public square. For those unfamiliar with our work, our attorneys are attributed with 15 Supreme Court victories, and we have an international team that's doing work throughout the world. They just came back from ARC. Thank you. We've actually got 2 Supreme Court cases going on right now that I think you would be very interested in. The first one is Medina versus Planned Parenthood. It's about protecting a state's right to decide if taxpayers should go to organizations like Planned Parenthood. And I feel like I have a pretty warm crowd for that, that idea. And the other is about education, which relates to this topic here. It's Oklahoma Statewide Charter School Board versus Drummond. It's about defending the decision to defund a religious charter school and fight for equal treatment of religious organizations in education. There are few issues that are going to impact our children and our grandchildren more than reforms to the education system, and that's why we're here. First, Erica Donalds is an education entrepreneur and is the founder and chairman of Optima Ed and the chair of America First Policy Institute Centers for Education and Opportunity. A former elected school board member, she is known as a national expert on education policy and school choice and is a frequent commenter and speaker on this issue. She spent 20 years in the financial services industry, finishing her career as the CFO and managing partner of a multi-billion-dollar investment management firm. Erica and her husband, Congressman Byron Donalds, lives in Florida. You're familiar? Very good. She lives in Naples, Florida with her 3 sons. Jack Brewer serves as the chair of the Center for Opportunity Now and chairman of the Jack Brewer Foundation. Recently, Jack was co-chair of Black Voices for Trump Victory Fund. He is a White House appointee on the Congressional Commission for the Social Status of Black Men and Boys and is currently the lead independent director for the GEO Group. He was the team captain for the NFL's Minnesota Vikings, the Philadelphia Eagles, who you may have heard of recently, and what I find to be the pinnacle of his career at the New York Giants. So I'm born in Brooklyn, I can't help myself. All right, let's lay a foundation, if you don't mind, for this topic. Erica, talk about what you see as the current state of particularly the public education system.
Well, the public education system in America has literally failed the American people. It hasn't lived up to the promise where we parents were told if you send your child to this school for 8 hours a day, we're going to teach them to read and do math and achieve their own American dream. That was a lie. We just found out a few weeks ago that only 1/3 of our students are doing reading and math on grade level, according to the National Report Card, the NAEP. And we are spending billions and billions of dollars not to teach our kids how to succeed and how to carry forward this republic that we all so value, but we're teaching them about victimhood and oppressors and the wrong history of the United States and the world, and to hate themselves and to hate our country. And so we are taking the education system back, though. We're here in the golden age of America, right, at the cusp of that. President Trump has promised to not only dismantle the Department of Education, but enact school choice and support universal school choice in our states where education belongs. So there's reason for hope, even though the education system has been failing for the past 100 years.
Yeah, that's a great point. And you think about, in the state where I live, Virginia, Glenn Youngkin essentially won the governor's seat on the issue of education and speaking to parents. Like, that was a key differentiator for him. Jack, President Trump, it feels like he's been president for like a year and a half this term because so much has happened in a few weeks. Right. But it's not been that long, and yet a lot has happened. What has he done so far that's really encouraged you on the topic of education?
First off, I want to look at the American people, whoever's watching, and speak to your kids for a second. And just tell your child, if no one's ever told you this, Jesus Christ loves you.
Amen.
You are not a victim. You have victory in Christ, and He is the ruler over your life. President Trump has done so much, but I think the most important thing that he's done in front of the American people is he has stood for biblical truth. Yeah. When he sat in front of the nation and said, God created man and woman, and that's it.
That's right.
And so when you talk about the education system, our founding fathers did not create an education system that is going to indoctrinate boys and girls to make them believe that they can be transgender and any gender they wanted to choose. Our education system was established with the basic belief in the Word of God. And so anything else throws us off. And I think President Trump has taken a stand. I think you've seen more and more companies coming back and back him. More and more employers in America have backed him. Because we're getting rid of these DEI policies and all these things that have drifted into our education system to start to pick winners and losers and actually separate us and put us back decades in regards to social and biblical justice. And so I just think that we should all understand the spiritual time in which we're living right now in America, particularly with our children. And let's get the 10 Commandments back in our schools. You're seeing it happen in Louisiana. You're seeing it happen in so many other states around our country. We all must take a stand, no matter what your religion is, to get this word back into the hearts and minds of our children that may not have access to it.
Yeah. Amen. Erica, it's hard to know what to do sometimes, though, because parents, I think the instinct when they see these things happening in the public schools is to say, I'm going to put my kids in private school, I'm going to homeschool. And those are good options, and for some people that's the right decision. But you also don't want to forfeit the public arena to the other side. And then again, it's our children who are vulnerable and impressionable. How would you, you've got children, you're in the later teen phases with your children. How would you advise a parent with little kids like me? My kids are younger, they're like 11 to 2, we got a spread of 4. And we're struggling with it. Like, we're asking ourselves a question right now, what's the best educational model? How would you advise a parent, given the system we have now, how would you advise them to go about making those decisions?
Well, that very dilemma is what got me involved in education. As you mentioned, I wasn't an educator, I was a CPA. But I have 3 children, and for one of my children, the A school that I was sending him to did not work well for him. He was miserable, therefore I was miserable as a parent. And I was fortunate enough to find a classical Christian private school to send him to, and his entire life changed in the 1st grade. He started to love learning and thrive in that environment, and I thought, well, how many other Darrens are out there, and can I help by serving on my local school board to give them options? But that's when my eyes were opened to the education monopoly and the corruption that is happening in our school districts. What I would say is, the left wants to say that our obligation is to the collective. But as parents, our #1 obligation is to our family and to our own children, raising them in the things of God. And that is your contribution to the community, raising your children well and making sure that they are prepared to be good citizens in this republic. And so you need to take care of your own children first. I personally would not send my children into a public school in this day and age. I don't care if it's an A or not. I don't trust them. And so I would do whatever I possibly could to find the right educational environment for my children. You take care, put your own mask on first, help your children, and then do things for your community. Run for school board. It's not a bad thing to do, but a lot of the families that I know that are running for school board that are involved in education reform, they took care of their children first, but they're there, as I was, to help take care of their community and other children that don't have that same opportunity.
Right, because the public education system is everybody's, even if your kids are homeschooled or you go to a private school. That's your school too. We're paying for that. And we deserve to have an influence there. We're seeing a huge shift in the country with regard to DEI. It's been unpopular for a long time, but we're seeing major institutions and politicians starting to come on board and get with it. Alliance Defending Freedom, we've got a corporate engagement division that's been working, and part of the product of that work was what we're seeing with Walmart. Shareholders are speaking out, and they're saying, we're tired of this. We don't want it, and Walmart's making good decisions. There are also corporations that are not making the right decisions, but they're feeling the pressure. Jack, talk about, because you've worked a lot with young black men and boys. You've dealt with the issue of fatherlessness, which we can get into in a minute too. But talk about the impact of DEI and that general mentality on the education system.
First off, the devil is a lie, and DEI is a lie.
That's right.
All right? So I want to start off by saying that I'm a black man, and I happen to be the lead independent director of a multi-billion-dollar public company. And so America does have opportunity for people just like me. And I'll take that further. When you look at what DEI really does, so I do a lot of community work. I got my master's in education, adjunct professor. I've taught from, you're talking about the poorest of the poor on to multimillionaires. But the one thing that remains consistent is that whenever you tell someone that they're a victim, or you tell someone they don't have the ability to learn, then they won't.
Right.
So I have a little girl in one of my programs. She literally went to class. She got an F on a math exam. And the teacher told her that it's okay because she's a little black girl and that she doesn't have the ability to do this math. Telling the girl that math is racist. So for me, that burns me up inside. And so you start to think about what these little children are being taught in some of these public schools that Erica just mentioned, and it's just heart-wrenching. I'll tell you another story. When you talk about people, and Erica said this, it's not just about us, it's about our community, man. When you look at our juveniles, we gotta realize juvenile crime in the United States of America went up 21% last year. These are the little kids, the little boys. I have men in my prison program who have been locked up since the age of 14 with grown men. We have to do something for the poorest of the poor. It starts in our education system. We cannot leave these men and these children fatherless. Yep. Our nation is the most fatherless nation on the planet. We have over 18 million kids that don't have an active father in their home. I went to a juvenile courtroom. There were 25 young men and boys, most of them black, at court to be sentenced by a judge. I looked around, there was only one father in the entire courtroom. Can you imagine if your child was being sentenced? This is the epidemic that we're facing in our nation right now. Our education system will never work if we don't put the man back in the home.
It's a basic Christian concept. Children deserve a mother and a father.
Amen.
Every child deserves a mother and a father. I mentioned a minute ago that we're seeing shifts in DEI and public perception of it. Erica, you and I were talking about this earlier. How do we take what we see as a public opinion shift and make institutional change out of it, right? We can all like the ideas. We can be at CPAC and be excited about the ideas that we've gotten, that we're seeing some progress. But how do we influence institutions? So how do we get from where we are to where we want to go?
Well, that's so important for this audience, right? Because these are the people that believe as we do and have believed as we do, but now the rest of the country has also come along against DEI. People, it's an 80% issue. It was the #1 issue for President Trump, saying there are only 2 genders. We're gonna get men out of women's sports. And now he got elected with such a mandate and is enforcing Title IX and the protections that provides to girls in their spaces and in their athletics. And he's gonna plow forward. You gotta elect the right people. That's one way to institutionalize it. But look at something like school choice. School choice now enjoys over 70% support across the country, including 67% of Democrats support school choice. But you also see 100% of Democrats voting against school choice in our state legislators. Why? Because the teachers' union and the funding behind them are controlling those electors. But then you look at a place like Texas, where also rural Republicans went against it, and you had organizations like AFC, Donald Trump himself, America First, Policy Institute come get rid of the majority of the Republican incumbents that voted against school choice last year. And this year, in just a few weeks, Texas will pass a school choice bill and spend $1 billion on giving parents options. So that's how you do it.
Yeah.
You get the public and you get the right people in office to make those bold changes.
Yeah, elections have consequences.
They do.
We've been saying that for a while, right? Jack, I want to go back to what you were talking about a minute ago with the fatherlessness issue and the education gap. What can the rest of us do? So if you're the average person in the pew, so to speak, you see this epidemic, you don't know what to do. I can't impact, I may be able to impact one child. I can't fix the whole system. But what can the average person that just cares about the public education system, they care about these kids that don't have a mom or a dad in the home, what can we do? What would be your advice?
Well, my advice is, first off, understand that this is not just an issue of education or policy. This is a spiritual issue. The last verse of the Old Testament is Malachi 4:6. That verse says that he shall turn the hearts of the fathers to the children and the hearts of the children to the fathers. But the end of that verse says something that's so powerful, and it's the times that we live in. He said, if we don't do it, he shall come and smite the earth with a curse. Our earth is feeling the curse. No matter if you go to Guatemala or Central America and see that all of their men and fathers are leaving their homes trying to migrate to America illegally. Or you go over to Africa when you see these societies that have gone from a patriarch society to a matriarch society. Or you come here in America where you can have a generation like mine that was raised to believe that having a baby mama is okay and cool. Those things are generational curses that we must break. The only way you bind up a curse is by the blood of the Lamb and the word of your testimony. And so we've got to testify. We've got to talk about these things in the public square. We've got to stand for these poor children that don't have advocates and people to stand up for them and be their voices. Man, get out in your community. Go to the local juvenile. Go in there and sit in a courtroom and tell a little boy that's 13, 14, 15 that don't have a dad that you love him. Go see those folks in prison like the word tells us to do. We can't just take care of our people that have. We got to take care of those that have not. Church, it's our job. Church, let's do what the church does. Donald Trump can only do so much. We need the church to take a stand. Churches start schools.
Yep.
Churches start daycares. Churches empower organizations like Erica's to go in and push for school choice. Let's take our country back.
Yes.
But we can only do that through God.
There is no replacement for a Christian witness. Ladies and gentlemen, that's all the time we've got. If you want to learn more, ericadonalds.com, the jackbrewerfoundation.org, and adflegal.org. We'll be around. You'll see us throughout the conference. Please stop us and say hello. Take care. God bless.
Ladies and gentlemen, up next, Joy Reid, a desperate plea for help. Please welcome senior columnist for townhall.com, Kurt Schlichter, with @ALX on X, Alex LaRusso, and your host of O'Connor and Company on WMAL, Larry O'Connor.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. We got real big names waiting back. Hey, good to see you. We got super big names back there waiting to come out, so we're gonna get right to it. How about these guys, right? I'd be remiss if I didn't tell you that I just wrote a book about the media. It's called Shameless Liars. Can we get a close-up on that artwork there?
It's got an incredible foreword by a real thought leader.
Forward by Kurt Schlichter. But the subtitle is How Trump Defeated the Legacy Media and Made Them Irrelevant. And that's sort of where I want to take this, because for years, ever since the great Rush Limbaugh and Brent Bozell at Media Research Center for the last 35, 37 years, the late, great Andrew Breitbart, who brought Kurt and I into this world, we spent so much time fighting the media and exposing their lies and exposing the propaganda, and it all reached a head this year with Donald Trump leading the charge, and he won. I mean, they are meaningless now, and so I want to start with that. And Joy Reid kind of is the namesake for this panel, because Alex, she's been reduced to being obsessed over big balls.
Correct.
And I need you to sort of explain this to us.
Yes, so like the media...
Explain Joy Reid's obsession with big balls.
Obsession with big balls. So she's going on media right now, and she's demanding that Congress subpoena a guy named Big Balls and Elon Musk with a straight face on. So we've reduced them to a point where they're just looking at social media for people like me who post on X, and they're getting their talking points from online. And no longer do they have a mind of their own. There's like a whole supercut. I think it was like Media Busters who did it. And there's just like all of these people on CNN, MSNBC, and they're just repeating big balls, big balls, big balls over and over with a straight face. So it's like you look at...
Well, they've got to get to the bottom of big balls.
So... Yes, and they brought on Kara Swisher, the noted expert on the topic for that. But yeah, that's all over an intern at Doge, who was hired by Elon Musk. And of course, we have tens of thousands of people in our government who have access to all of your personal information, including your social security number. But when Elon Musk has a small team of genius interns that are probably like smarter than everybody else on that whole panel or on their entire network, it becomes the biggest deal that they all have access to your personal information. So they just set the standard to like dox all of these government workers for some reason, because tens of thousands of people that are not elected, by the way, have the access to your personal information every single day, and have.
And they've been reduced to a punchline, these media personalities. That's why we're laughing at Joy Reid, because that's what we should do. We should mock them and make fun of them. And of course, all this talk about Joy Reid and big balls brings us to Don Lemon, Kurt.
Another gem.
He's my special friend.
I'm gonna connect the dots, I promise you. Because, Kurt, it was during the presidential election of
December 22nd, 2015, I get this call. Can you come on CNN real quick? Just a video hit. I get on, and Don Lemon's outraged because, it's the worst thing ever happened. Donald Trump said Hillary got schlonged in the 2008 election.
She did.
And I don't care at all. And we're going back and forth. He said, you should be more upset. And I said, look, his opponent shilled for her husband, who treated his intern like a human humidor.
Fact check, true.
And he said, you can't say that. So I said it again. And he kicked me off. And what we're saying here is the media used to be something that hit us. Now we use it for a punching bag. Everybody knows the JD meme.
Right.
Okay? I don't really care, Margaret. They go on her show to humiliate her, and she's too stupid to know it.
They don't know they're the joke at this point.
How excited is National Security Advisor Mike Waltz right now, knowing that he's coming out after this panel?
Well, he's an Army colonel, too, so...
But you were banned from CNN?
Yes. For 10 years, I have not been on CNN, and it's changed my life for the better.
Well, and honestly, who's got a better career trajectory right now, Kurt Schlichter or Don Lemon? Because he has also been banned from CNN.
Well, look, I'm on more than he is. Look, I literally have more followers on the Twitter machine than they have viewers. Think about that.
Exactly. 100%.
So, Alex, your work that you do right now, you've got a meme for everything. And the fact that these guys can be reduced to a meme, that Margaret Brennan, the host of Face the Nation, a very important show in a very important town with a very important teleprompter reader as its host, she is now a meme. She can't do anything. From how J.D. Vance has handled her with these interviews to now reducing her to saying that too much free speech will lead to a genocide.
Yes.
This really is the best way to attack them now, is to just reduce them to a punchline.
Yeah, 100%. The thing is, it's like I said earlier, they don't have a mind of their own anymore. They are reduced to like scrolling social media and looking for the most viral moment that's going on social media, and it becomes now what they're talking about. Like, to give you an example, one of my local city council had, they just declared, my city that I'm from, Worcester, Massachusetts, just declared themselves a trans sanctuary city. So I got a tip that it was getting a little wild at the city council meeting, and I watched the 4-hour video of them all, like, you've probably seen it, the girl with the wig and everything, the blue hair.
Oh yeah, that was
that was my city. I went through and clipped it. For the next 3 days, it was all over, like, every corporate media, like, talking about it. So it's like they're looking at everything that they find online, and then they're making it their news cycle. So they don't have a mind of their own anymore.
And, you know, we talk about the gatekeepers a lot. The gatekeepers are the people who used to say what kind of news, New York Times, right? All the news that's fit to print. Who's deciding what's fit to print, right? There's some people in a tower in Manhattan who's, that's not news that's fit to print, but this is news that's fit to print. And they would decide what was worthy for your eyes, what was news that you could consume. It's been reversed now.
Correct.
In fact, we are the ones, as Elon Musk says, we are the media. We are driving what's important, and that's what this new revolution is about.
Well, and there's an
right?
And it all goes back to Andrew Breitbart. And one of the underappreciated aspects is how much fun we're having, right?
That's right.
Exactly.
I mean, we've got to dance. They're eating the dogs. There we go. They're eating the dogs. They're eating the cats. We are having fun. We're laughing. And Kamala Harris says, my message is joy.
As she's screaming. As Biden's screaming, as she's screaming.
You will be happy.
Be the way, you mentioned Andrew Breitbart again, and I just want to say, I want to read this. This is the very end of my book, but it's a quote from Andrew Breitbart. You all remember Andrew, right? God bless him.
Yeah, ALX was 5 when this
exactly. Elon Musk is now saying we are the media, and he's right. We are the media, using social media platforms, using X, which is now a free platform. On Tax Day 2010, during the rise of the Tea Party movement, Andrew Breitbart was asked to speak in Washington, D.C. at a Tea Party rally. And you should look at this video, it's out there. He asked everybody in the crowd there at the Tea Party rally to hold up their phones. And he said this, it's time for a new media revolution, and you are it. You are the media. Hold up your phones, hold up your cameras. This is the future of media. This is how we're going to fight the lies, the misinformation, and the propaganda of the mainstream media. We are now the media.
Yeah.
Andrew Breitbart, 15 years ago, said that. And Alex, I mean, you have inherited this legacy now, and you are the media.
It's really interesting, too, because a little bit about my story, too. In 2020, I was really gaining traction, and I was about to hit 100,000 followers on Twitter 1.0 at the time, and then I was just banned for like 3 years nearly until Elon Musk brought me back, and I'm now almost at 1 million followers on X. But yeah,
hold that thought. He had 100,000 followers, and they banned him because he was so, look at how dangerous he is. Elon Musk buys it, opens it up for free thought and free speech, and now you've got 1 million followers.
Yep, nearly. I'm 30,000 from 1 million, so if you want to get me there before I leave the stage, go for it, at ALX. But yeah, so to your point, it's just like, you know, you are the media because you have a phone and you have the platform on social media. And one of the things that's ironic about this whole, you know, moral panic around misinformation, disinformation, all these people can go on their shows, like, you know, for 4 years they talked about the Russia propaganda hoax and Russian collusion hoax. So they were allowed to say that unchecked. They got to have their own guests on there, and that, like Adam Schiff saying he has inside knowledge about all this crap. On social media, no, it's a blood sport. You say something wrong, you're gonna get ratioed or community noted.
That's right.
So you're the media and you're also the checker, like you're the fact checker. There's not like independent fact checkers like Meta used to have. You are the fact checker, and what actually...
Well, because the independent fact checkers weren't independent.
Exactly, yes,
and they weren't based in fact.
Correct.
And this is an important point that I want you to pick up on, Kurt, because this whole idea of needing fact checkers and needing to moderate what you say, and it's all coming from this arrogant presumption that you're too stupid to understand what's true and what isn't. You're too stupid to discern from a hoax and what's real.
I'm not sure that they think we're stupid. I know they say they're stupid because it justifies their existence.
Yeah, that's
okay,
true.
They want to be the gatekeeper. They want to be making the decision. And you don't need a gatekeeper if you are an individual, if you are an independent American citizen with your camera and computer who goes out and makes his or her own news. We don't need them. It terrifies them.
Yeah.
That is why Never Trump exists.
Yep.
Because we didn't need them.
That
and they got mad.
that said, the platform and the technology and the freedom is there, and it's opening up more. Mark Zuckerberg suddenly is red-pilled, right? And that's amazing. But it all starts with this fist thrust in the air. It all starts with him yelling, fight, 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 right? Because he has shown us how to fight. Suddenly you see Republicans on Capitol Hill are channeling Trump because he's contagious. And I think I'll give you a perfect example. George Stephanopoulos last year lied about Donald Trump. He said that he was convicted by a jury of raping somebody, and he said it 7 times in a 6-minute span. What did Donald Trump do? Did he do a Mitt Romney thing? Did he do a George Bush thing? Did he do what Republicans have done for our lifetimes, which is just be the better man and say, oh, well, you know how they are, tut, tut, let's walk away? No, he fought, he sued, and he won. And that's what we have to do. And the fight we have, I mean, listen, we're doing a victory lap right now because we've rendered the media irrelevant, but they're not going away. The fight continues, Alex, every day.
100%. And then the other thing, too, to your point, 60 Minutes tried to edit that Kamala Harris interview.
That's right.
How did that go for them? The FCC has now released the entire thing, and we saw what a sham it was. Well, they messed up because they put the promo out with, like, the other answer.
With a different answer,
Wait a
the word salad
like,
answer.
What happened here? Like,
well, and Kurt, this goes back to the arrogance because think about it. Donald Trump had the choice of sitting for 40 minutes with 60 Minutes and letting them condense it down to 20 minutes that they decided we could see. And they do that, by the way. They edit these packages because they think you have a short attention span. They talk down to you all the time. Instead, he said, no, I don't need freaking 60 Minutes. I'll sit for 3 hours uninterrupted with Joe Rogan and oh, and by the way, 50 million of you watched that. How's that for short attention span?
And here's the beauty of it. Kamala Harris wants to go on Joe Rogan. She thinks she's the get. She thinks she's in the driver's seat. Joe Rogan's like,
get it.
Nah. Talk to the hand.
Wow.
You don't set the conditions. They don't own us anymore.
That's right.
They're not in charge. We are.
Well, I think we've recovered from our big balls opening, and I think we'll quit while we're ahead. You guys, thank you. Keep fighting. Follow Alex, get him to 1 million, and buy my book.
Hey, chopped liver.
You can crack the code of nuclear waste. You've solved something. that no one has attempted to do before and has succeeded.
We're onto something big.
We have the U.S. government partnered with us now to prove our technology out.
Make America stronger.
I want to provide limitless energy to the world, and I believe this is the path.
Every institution today is under attack. The home, the church, the government. And many people are asking, what is the truth? Jesus Christ claimed the ultimate truth. Are you willing to face the truth?
Do you think the MKUltra project ever actually ended?
The Central Intelligence Agency is actively involved in mind manipulation.
We all answer to one God and one Savior, and He's there to change your life for the better.
During my second term, we will fight for Alaska like never before.
I'm excited about what we can do with President Trump in the office.
We'll work together to provide affordable energy to Alaska and allies all over the world.
More investment, more certainty, production, more exploration.
Thank you to everyone in Alaska, and thank you to your great governor. I look forward to a long and enduring future relationship. Drill, baby, drill.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is a conversation with National Security Advisor Michael Waltz and CPAC Senior Fellow Mercedes Schlapp.
All right. Woo, good morning, CPAC. Mike, are you ready?
Oh, born for this.
Okay, good.
Let's go.
I don't have a chainsaw for you. That's the only thing I couldn't get on the stage. You know, Elon Musk came in with the present.
As a Green Beret, I left the belt-fed machine gun at home.
There you go.
Thank God the Secret
There you go.
Secret Service
But you know,
okay.
maybe next time just
Yeah,
bring
yeah,
it
yeah,
if
we're
you'd
good.
like.
Yeah,
but how are y'all doing this morning? Okay, so how amazing was it yesterday? Seriously. I don't know how we can top it off, but we're going to top it off this morning with just one of our heroes right now in the Trump administration, someone who CPAC, someone that Matt and I admire so much, our National Security Advisor, Mike Waltz. So let's jump right in. Obviously, you've just come back from Saudi Arabia. You were meeting with Russian officials on really looking to find a solution to end the war in Ukraine between Russia and Ukraine. Tell me first how those negotiations are going. Any insight that you can give to our CPAC family here in terms of progress that's being made?
Well, let me make one thing clear. We would not be in this position, not even close, if it weren't for the leadership of Donald J. Trump. Period. Right? I had the honor of sitting in the Oval Office and listening to President Trump speak with President Putin of Russia and hearing both Putin and then immediately Zelensky both say only under President Trump's leadership, say this to him, and only he could drive an end to this war. So under Trump, this war will end. And it will end soon, and he is the president of peace. And it amazes me how many people in this town are clutching their pearls and having conniption fits over what? Because President Trump's ready to stop the killing, stop the hundreds of thousands of people that are dying per year in Europe, the largest war in Europe since World War II. And you see the same voices that are demanding a ceasefire in Gaza post-October 7th, then what? Oppose peace in Europe? It makes no sense. But with his leadership, we've now opened negotiations. We're sitting down with our host, the Saudis, and talking to the Russians, understanding what they are going to need, and then understanding what the Ukrainians are going to need, talking to all of the Europeans. You can't end a war if you don't talk to both sides, and that's what we're doing.
Thank you.
It's kind of common sense,
it is
history of diplomacy.
It is common sense, but you do find those in the media and the critics basically saying, how can you all be talking to the Russians? This is insane, right? They criticize the efforts that the administration is doing. And with that being said, President Trump has expressed his frustration with President Zelensky, trying to get to the point that we're dealing with how can we get a deal on the raw minerals? How do we, I mean, the United States has given over $175 billion to the Ukrainians. It seems like the Americans, there is that war fatigue. It's time to move forward. How are we going to get Zelensky, President Zelensky, to cooperate?
Yeah. Well, so first, and this is the part that the media just wants to ignore, it was Zelensky last September, as part of his victory plan, it was Zelensky that proposed, hey, let's go into a partnership together. Right. If the United States will invest in us, we have aluminum, we have gallium, we have tritium, we have all of these rare earth minerals that the modern economy needs. A lot of them are not fully developed. They need investment. President Trump's a deal maker. And so now President Trump proposes the deal, right, and sent our Treasury Secretary all the way out to Kyiv to propose it. And then we get this rhetoric in the media. Well, look, here's the bottom line. President Zelensky is going to sign that deal. And you will see that in the very short term. And that is good for Ukraine. What better could you have for Ukraine than to be in an economic partnership with the United States, number one? What better could you have for Ukraine to stop the killing, number two? And you know what? We have an obligation to you all, the American taxpayer, to recoup the hundreds of billions of dollars that have been invested in this war. Because you know what? You know what Europe's contributions are? Europe's contributions are in the form of loans. And they're often paid back on the interest, by the interest on Russian assets that have been frozen. So Europe gets paid back, but the American people don't? I don't think so, right? And so that's the deal that we're putting in place that's good for everyone. And yes, you have to talk to the Russian side to understand how we're going to get both sides to the table. And that's what we're doing. Look, this is the common sense presidency. This is the presidency of peace. He's going to end the war in Europe. He is going to end the wars in the Middle East. He is going to reinvest the United States and our leadership in our own hemisphere, from the Arctic to the border to Panama, all the way down to our good friends in Argentina with Milei that you saw yesterday. And you know what? By the end of this all, we're going to have the Nobel Peace Prize sitting next to the name of Donald J. Trump. And who opposes peace? Like, I mean, how do the Democrats oppose peace?
You bring up a great question, which is who opposes peace? Yet you've seen the European leaders under President Macron trying to bring the Europeans together in dealing with the Russian and Ukraine situation. They have been unable to move the ball forward. How are we going to bring our European leaders on board?
Well, President, you know, and all the other narrative you have in the media is, well, we're not consulting with our allies in Europe. President Trump has talked to Macron twice last week. He's coming here Monday. The Prime Minister of Britain is coming here next Thursday. We are engaging all of our European allies, absolutely. The NATO Secretary General and I just spoke. You establish peace through strength. And we have been demanding that the Europeans step up and contribute to their own defense. And as of now, a third of our NATO allies still are not contributing the minimum, which is 2% of their GDP that they committed to a year ago, or I'm sorry, 10 years ago. So that's unacceptable. And if, you know what, the Europeans want to take a bigger role in their own security, that falls in line with America First principles as far as I'm concerned, as far as President Trump's concerned. So, you know what, he's kind of rattled their cage a bit. And now they're saying, you know what, suddenly they've found more. And they're coming to the table with more. Fine by us. We've only been asking for over a decade now.
Shifting gears here to Iran. We've got Ambassador Mark Wallace with us, basically one of the biggest fighters in terms of ensuring that we can see change in Iran and leading the efforts incredibly here in the United States and across the globe. But I've got to ask you right now, What is this maximum pressure campaign going to look like in terms of Iran? How are we going to stop Iran from exporting terrorism into Israel and killing innocent lives?
Well, first, thank God that Prime Minister Netanyahu, that Bibi did not listen to the Biden team and did not listen to Kamala Harris. And as a result of his leadership and Israel's leadership, Hezbollah in Iran is now decimated. I mean, the pager, beeper, and walkie-talkie operation is going to go down in history. And as a Green Beret, I appreciate a good covert operation. That was one of the greatest ones in history. So you have Hezbollah largely decapitated. You have a real opening in Lebanon that you haven't had in a generation. You have Assad gone in Syria. You have the axis of terror from Iran all the way to threaten our partners, Israel, essentially disrupted, and we need to keep our foot on their neck in that regard. And then from a maximum pressure campaign, the president just signed that executive order returning to maximum pressure to start keeping a foot on the neck of the Iranian economy. And look, just a few years ago, we were seeing that all of Iran's proxies were out of cash, that the Houthis, Hezbollah, Hamas, the militias in Iraq, none of them had the funds and the cash to continue their terror. We're going to get back to those policies that work, but key to it all is that Iran can never have a nuclear weapon. Yeah. And why does that matter to everyday Americans? Look, if Iran has a nuke, there is a real question of whether they're a rational actor. And they can take out our ally Israel, they can launch against the world, they will have that nuclear umbrella to launch these, all of these other attacks. They cannot have a nuclear weapon, and under President Trump's leadership, we will ensure that does not happen.
Israel. We just got word from the Israeli Defense Forces that they have returned several bodies. This is the Bibas family, the two beautiful children, the redhead children, and what was supposed to be the body of Shara, the mother. Apparently, that doesn't seem to be the case. IDF is saying this is a serious violation of the ceasefire. What's your message, one, to the hostages, their families, from the United States, from President Trump, and two, how can we ensure that we bring all those hostages back home?
My message, President Trump's message to those families is we are with you. His heart breaks and he is horrified by these scenes coming out. And if anyone thinks that Hamas is some type of quasi-benevolent, not so bad, kind of something less than the just despicable terrorists that they are, what more convincing do you need? Hamas is of the worst kinds of terrorist groups out there. They are no different than ISIS. They are no different than Al-Qaeda, and they absolutely must be destroyed. And only under his leadership, remember the Biden administration was trying to do some type of deal. They were obsessed with a ceasefire, but their approach was concession after concession after concession and putting more pressure on Israel than they did on Hamas. Only when President Trump came in and said, look, there will be all hell to pay, the credible threat that only he can deliver, did we see this deal come into place, still under Biden. And we saw our people starting to come out, including 2 Americans, with more to go. So this is only happening because of this election. These are the kind of consequences this election has had. And we will continue to get out everyone that we can. But remember, just 6 months ago, 8 months ago, you had college campuses, you had students, you had faculty, you had protesters celebrating Hamas, talking about from the river to the sea, having the worst kind of anti-Semitism, and now we've seen, and we just saw yesterday, the despicable people that they are and why they can never be allowed to run Gaza and why we can never allow another October 7th again. And there is a lot of talk about two-state. You know who doesn't want a two-state? Who will never allow a two-state? Hamas. And this is why they can never, they just cannot exist going forward.
China is one of our biggest threats. We have seen how China has infiltrated our institutions, has brought fentanyl into the United States, has stolen our intellectual property, have basically made so many deals with many Latin American countries, African countries. They're trying to be strategic in ensuring that the U.S. does not get involved in some of these regions. This has significantly changed under President Trump. Walk us through how we're going to deal with this threat of China.
Well, remember, President Trump is who pivoted us, pivoted the whole national security apparatus back in 2017 and 2018 to deal with the threat and the competition that China is. But he firmly believes we can win this economically, we can win this through our supply chains, we can win this through our markets and fair trade deals, and at the same time rebuilding our great military under, how about our Defense Secretary, Pete Hegseth, right? Getting them focused on being the most lethal and most badass military in the world and projecting that strength. But at the same time, he appreciates the infiltration that's going on, and we just had Panama say, you know what, we're done with Belt and Road, we're done with allowing China to infiltrate critical strategic assets like the Panama Canal. And again, it's only been a month, folks. We've still got it. We told the president, you said, you have a full 4 years. We don't have to get it all done in 4 weeks. And just final thing, because you mentioned fentanyl. We are going to unleash holy hell on the cartels. Enough is enough. We are securing our border. And the cartels are on notice. You've seen images of the Mexican army doing joint patrols with our border, with our Customs and Border Police and with our military to secure the United States border, because without a border, you don't have a country and you don't have sovereignty. And if there's not anything more than America first than that. And so a lot of, going back to things that worked in the first term, but you know what we have now in the second term? We have a team that is 200% on board with the vision of President Trump. And we've got a great Secretary of State, a great Secretary of Defense, Secretary of Treasury. We've got the Team Florida with Susie Wiles and our Chief of Staff. Like, we are hitting on all cylinders, and we don't have a president that's year 1 or even year 5. He's year 9. And we are building the rocket as we're launching it, and it's just been the honor of my lifetime to be a part of it.
So I was going to ask you who can bench press more, Secretary Hegseth or Mike Waltz, but I'm going to skip that question. We're just going to go a little personal here.
Yeah.
You wake up every morning. You have one of the most important jobs in the administration.
I'm working for a man who doesn't sleep, but
That's
yes,
true. So that means you're
bit.
not sleeping either.
Yeah.
What drives you? What inspires you to do what you do every day?
You know what? It really is. It's been about 20 hours a day. And he's going 21 or 22. I don't know how he does it. I thought I was in 4th gear as a member of Congress and a colonel and a Green Beret. I've now found 3 more, and he stays in 10th. But here's what drives me. These guys. I don't know if you can see this bracelet. This is one of my Green Berets that I lost in combat. And every morning I get up, I look in the mirror, we get ready to go, and I tell myself to be worthy. Be worthy of their sacrifice. Be worthy of those Gold Star families. Be a citizen that is worthy of this blessing that we all wake up with, breathing free air in the greatest country on earth. But we got a glimpse the last 4 years of what the world and what the country would look like under progressive lack of leadership. The world got a glimpse of what the world coming unglued, starting with the disgraceful withdrawal from Afghanistan and how that was done through the wars in Europe. We went from the Abraham Accords to the Middle East on fire, and out of control border. I think, and the president is thinking about this a lot as well. Of course, he wanted that second term. But you know what? Maybe God had a different plan, that the world had to see and feel what it would look like in the country without him. And now you're seeing this amazing embrace of his leadership in the world. But be worthy, everyone. Be worthy of those that are out there right now willing to die for all of us, and those that did give the greatest sacrifice for all of us. And thank God we have a leader back in the White House that not only appreciates that, loves them, and loves all of you, and is willing to run through brick walls to get big things done for this country and for peace and security around the world.
Well, be worthy. I'm taking that with me. Be worthy to do this incredible work. I just want to thank you, and I know on behalf of all of us here at CPAC, we thank you for your service. We thank you for your sacrifice. We thank you for supporting and giving advice to this great president and in serving in this administration. Ladies and gentlemen, our National Security Advisor, Mike Waltz. Thank you so much.
Thank you, CPAC. Thank you.
The 47th President of the United States of America.
And, you know, I wouldn't say Fox has been exactly perfect. Fox has been a big difference of Fox between now and what it was 4 years ago, as you know. But we have others that come along, and they're doing well, and Newsmax has been really good, and, you know, others are coming along. And people are seeing that they're watching these conservative networks.
President Trump is right. That's why millions of Americans are tuning into Newsmax for the real news they can trust.
Live with you from CPAC.
I can't hear
I made MAGA war room posse deplorable.
you. Everybody is here. We the people, all united. Days of thunder.
That's where the news is.
Every institution today is under attack. The home, the church, the government. And many people are asking, what is the truth? Jesus Christ claimed the ultimate truth. Are you willing to face the truth?
Do you think the MKUltra project ever actually ended? The Central Intelligence Agency is actively involved in mind manipulation.
We all answer to one God and one Savior, and He's there to change your life for the better.
During my second term, we will fight for Alaska like never before.
I'm excited about what we can do with President Trump in the office.
We'll work together to provide affordable energy to Alaska and allies all over the world.
More investment, more certainty, production, more exploration.
Thank you to everyone in Alaska, and thank you to your great governor. I look forward to a long and enduring future relationship. Drill, baby, drill.
Hey there, scan your QR code on your badge so that you can view the agenda. Check out our membership circles and learn more about our centers.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome CEO of MyPillow, Mike Lindell.
Thank you, everybody. When I wrote the book that you all received, What Are the Odds from Crack Addict to CEO, I used mathematical odds to prove that God exists. We all have things that happen to us all the time that we say, wow, that's a 1 in a million, or maybe that's a 1 in a billion, or things that we say, that's impossible. Well, when do we put them all together and say it has to be a miracle? Okay, well, I remember getting invited to the White House for the first time and sitting next to our great president and the cameras went live to the nation. And all my friends at home, and some of them were still on crack, looked up and said, what is this crack addict doing with the president? Jesus is real. Could this would be impossible without God? And in the spring of 2020, in another divine appointment, I spoke at the Rose Garden, and I said, God has given us grace for such a time as this. Well, then we were hit with the China virus and a stolen election. And over the next 4 years, people would come up to me all the time and say, Mike, this doesn't feel like grace. And I would say, oh, but it is. God uses all things for good for those who believe. And the president and I were talking one day, and I was saying that, you know, that we were talking about how our country was getting completely destroyed everywhere. And I told him, I said, you know, Mr. President, these bad things are actually helping. They're opening people's eyes, and it'll end up being a good thing. And he said, well, Mike, they're destroying our beautiful country, and it's going to take so much to fix it all. And I said, sir, with God, all things are possible, and God working through you, you'll get it fixed faster and better than ever. Well, hasn't this first month been a miracle, huh? Thank you, Mr. President, for getting so much done in such a short period of time. It actually is a miracle. I said it before, and I'm going to say it again. Everybody loves our president. Some just don't know it yet. True. This has all been on God's timing, and I believe our great president, if he was put in right after the stolen election, we would have lost our country forever. It would have been too soon. There were so many things that we had to find out over the last 4 years, and especially there was one thing that was important. We had to get our voice back. On January 7th and 8th of 2021, those 2 days are historically important. 1.2 million people were deplatformed and canceled on Vimeo, YouTube, Zuckerbuck's Facebook, Jack Dorsey's Twitter. If you spoke out about the stolen election, you were deplatformed. The rest of the country was too afraid to say anything because of January 6th. They went completely silent in fear. And it reminds me, like when I was a kid, we had black and white TVs, and we would turn them off as kids, and they would go down to a little tiny dot. And we would go and we'd turn it on right before that dot went out. It would all come back to life. Well, that little dot was our voice. And if our voice would have went out, it would have been just like Ronald Reagan said, we're like a beacon of light on a hill. If the lights go out here, they go out everywhere. It would have been over. But our voice did not go out. We turned that back on, and our voice has gotten bigger and brighter than ever before. And this is, we never gave up. People started forming their own platforms, and this is where CPAC came in. How important is CPAC that gave us a platform? I couldn't speak anywhere back then except for CPAC. So important is CPAC. I and many of you were giving a world stage for our voice when almost every other platform had either blocked us or given up. We never stopped speaking out, and our voice has grown to the biggest it's ever been. We have beaten, there's two parts to this. We have beaten the biggest cover-up of the biggest crime in history. The uniparty, the deep state globalists, and the media tried to completely bury the truth about the 2020 election. 4 years later, evil has failed. Everybody knows the truth. I told people before the 2024 election, if they tried to steal it again, just like if they'd have tried to give us China virus 2.0, we would not have stood for it. We would have said, open up those machines. And we would have said, no, we're not going to sit out in snowbanks wearing masks and be banned from our own houses. We would not have tolerated another stolen election. And evil knew this, and they also knew that it was too big to rig, as the president likes to say. If they would have done it, it would have been one of the biggest deviations in history, and we would have said, we're on to you now. Well, that's their tool to steal elections. By the way, and the media will like this, the fake news, they did steal 4 senators and 9 congressmen that my teams know of in this last election, just so you all know that, okay? 132 countries have banned electronic voting machines, and they've done it for a reason. More than 100 countries have banned early voting and mail-in voting. The United States of America has the worst election platforms in the world. We now have to make elections great again. We need to go to paper ballots, hand-counted, same-day voting, precinct level, and voter ID just the way our great president wants us. We have to lead the world in secure elections. We cannot let this time with the greatest president in history be in vain. This must be the time that God triumphs over evil. We have to have our voices stronger than ever, and we will never, ever stop until, with this critical timing, we have to get to paper ballots. We will never stop. We have to get there now. I encourage all of you to go to LindellTV.com. This is my voice. We have the greatest mayor ever, Mayor Rudy Giuliani over there. We have Emerald Robinson and many other hosts in our 24/7 TV lineup. We were granted, what a blessing, we have White House reporters right at the White House right now with Lindell TV. You have live reporting every single day. And I'd like to thank, I needed help, and I'd like to thank our great new sponsors like Fisher Liberty Gold and Airwater Healing. They're going to be they're at the booth. But during these times when I was canceled, they're trying to cancel everything I stand for to get rid of these machines and go to paper ballots. They stood up and said, hey, we're going to help. We're going to sponsor Lindell TV. So thank you. I'd like you all to visit our booth at Lindell TV, the booth that we have here. Visit, and I need every one of you to get involved now. We are at a critical time in history. The stuff we put out, we have all the pieces to do this. We just need your votes to magnify the truth to the world as we get into this over the next months here and start putting all this information out and what we're doing from the ground up and from our great president down. We're doing everything humanly possible to get to this great place with our election platforms. God gave us grace for such a time as this, and we are in the best times to be alive in history and the greatest revival for Jesus Christ ever. Thank you, and God bless you. Thank you all.
Four-time Prime Minister of Slovakia, a small, proud country in the heart of Europe. In May last year, an opposition activist tried to assassinate him for his policies. For politics based on the ideals of fight against fascism. For wanting an immediate end to the war in Ukraine. For the return of common sense and the barrier against wokeness when he endorsed constitutional definition of marriage as the unique union of a man and a woman. For his grasp of reality when he vetoed the compulsory redistribution of illegal migrants among the European Union member states. For pursuing a sovereign Slovak foreign policy to all 4 cardinal points. For treasuring freedom of speech and rejecting the politics of single correct political opinion. For the first time, Prime Minister of the Slovak Republic is coming to CPAC.